child and younger teenager, I had a lot of trouble getting along with my peers in school and relating to them. They thought I was strange, annoying, or just unintelligent. I had a hard time fitting in socially because, for some reason, I couldn't follow social cues, follow conversations in multiple group settings, follow body language cues, or just be on the same level as them in terms of situational awareness. I was behind everybody developmentally and maturity-wise. When the kids around me were getting boyfriends or girlfriends, I was still playing with Barbies and Legos. This caused me to have some problems with interaction. In simple terms, I didn't always know what to say, when to say it, or how to say it. I could sometimes act impulsive, intrusive, and I was difficult to talk to. To my peers, talking to me felt like they were talking to someone many years younger than them, even though I was the same age physically. It was almost like my social functioning ability didn't develop as quickly as the others around me. I always thought that there was something wrong with me, especially when I was a child, because I wasn't always involved in activities, and during school, not a lot of people wanted to be around me. I was just kind of the weird kid. This unfortunate question is, what is wrong with me, lingered with me until recently when I found out that I wasn't weird or different. My brain is just wired differently in a way that a lot of people do not truly understand. The reason why my brain is like this is because I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. And this is a common neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by persistent patterns of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity that interfere with functioning or development. I was clinically diagnosed with this in 4th grade, and the diagnosis explained a great deal with other problems with ADHD, but up until recently, like I mentioned earlier, I discovered through various research that ADHD can actually cause extreme social functioning issues, which can lead to rejection and poor treatment from peers, thereby explaining as to why my brain was wired this way and why I was treated this way by others. This brings me to my research question. How does having ADHD affect social functioning during one's childhood, and how does this result in problems during their adolescence and adult life? Hello, my name is Dobeck, and welcome to my TED Talk. Before I get in, I just want to share with you these important words that I'm going to be saying a lot during this presentation: ADHD, social functioning, peer acceptance, and peer rejection. So to start off, with ADHD, children have a very high chance of experiencing social rejection. It is estimated that 50 to 60% of children with ADHD experience rejection by their peers, and many reasons for rejection stem from behavioral patterns of children with ADHD. For example, impulsivity and hyperactivity can make kids be intrusive, fail to wait their turn, or act aggressively towards their classmates. This can make it difficult for them to be liked. As you can see in this graph, I'm going to focus on some of this later, but right now I'm focusing on the social problems. As you can see, people with ADHD, especially children with ADHD, have a much higher chance of experiencing social problems as well as peer victimization than their typically developing counterparts. And to add on something else, interestingly, as I kind of hinted at earlier, immaturity might actually be confused with ADHD, because ADHD itself has been linked to a delay in brain maturation. In fact, with ADHD, children can be 30% behind their age in development. So as you can see, a 12-year-old would have the executive functioning age of an 8.5-year-old. An older child with ADHD might present behaviors that are typical in younger child. Young children with this developmental thing start talking later than their peers, and due to attention issues, they may have a hard time slowing down their thoughts, organizing their speech, and not interrupting others. According to Erica Rich from an article from PubMed Central, many ADHD children are, quote, disliked within minutes of the initial social interaction. In another study done by the multimodal treatment study of children with ADHD, children who are rejected and or friendless are more likely to be excluded from peer social activities. This causes them to be deprived of important socialization experiences, opportunities to develop and refine their social skills, and important sources of social support. Over time, this problem can exacerbate, and the children who do not get the opportunity to partake in social activities have more relationship problems and experience distress, which can carry over into the transition into adolescence. So, we all know that the teenage years can be rough, especially with friendship. But friendship is much more important than most people think. Relationships with other students are very important for healthy cognitive and social development during adolescence. Because so much change occurs during this time, preteens and teenagers can be especially vulnerable to social and emotional struggles, and problems with friendships can grow into bigger issues if they are left unaddressed. As you can see with this graph, adolescents with ADHD have a 20 to 25% more likelihood of developing alcohol and substance abuse due to these issues. Friendship, as I'm going back to it, isn't just about having someone to hang out with. It's a mutual relationship where both people expect emotional safety, trust, and support. Having close friends is linked to long-term benefits such as higher self-esteem, fewer symptoms of depression, and better family relationships. Friendship also helps teens learn social norms and practice skills like self-control and cooperation. Going back to this graph, as you can see. When adolescents are rejected by their peers, they have fewer chances to form friendships with their more positive, popular peers, as you could say. They may instead connect with other rejected teens, which can lead to the escalation or development of antisocial behavior. And so this antisocial behavior can actually appear in certain behavioral disorders, especially oppositional defiance disorder, ODD, and conduct disorder, CD. Both are more common in young people with ADHD than in those without it. ODD involves ongoing defiant and hostile behavior towards authority figures, usually beginning in childhood. Children with ODD often lose their temper, argue with adults, blame others, and act resentful. These behaviors can make it harder to succeed in school and maintain friendships. Teens who have both ADHD and ODD are more likely to show aggression and have greater social difficulties than those with just ADHD alone. Conduct disorder, on the other hand, is more severe and includes behaviors such as aggression, destroying property, lying, stealing, and skipping school. About 30 to 50% of children with ADHD also develop conduct disorder, and ADHD can actually make conduct disorder symptoms worse. Teens with both ADHD and conduct disorder are more likely to face serious problems at school, get into legal trouble, and engage in aggressive or antisocial behavior. According to the CDC, ODD is actually a strong predictor of later conduct disorder, meaning children with both ADHD and ODD are at higher risk of developing CD during adolescence. When ADHD occurs alongside the both of these behavioral disorders, it is linked to even more serious social, emotional, academic, and legal problems, as well as increased peer rejection and social challenges. Now, in adulthood, ODD and conduct disorder aren't as prevalent, but adults with ADHD also experience extreme social issues due to ADHD. They might have trouble with relationships because of symptoms like inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity can be misunderstood. Since ADHD is often called a quote, invisible disability, others may see the person as rude, careless, or irresponsible instead of recognizing these symptoms are part of a disorder. This misunderstanding can lead to social rejection, hurt self-esteem, and strained romantic relationships over time. This behavior is not excused as much as it would be when a person with ADHD is a child. Over time, partners of a person with ADHD might feel overwhelmed and frustrated with their behavior. According to Daniel and Beaton from the National Library of Medicine, people often react negatively to ADHD-related behaviors, which can make adults with ADHD more likely to experience ongoing rejection. ADHD can also cause problems at work. Adults may struggle with being late, making mistakes, staying organized, or being dependable. They might have conflicts with coworkers, interrupt others, talk too much, or have difficulty listening. As a result, adults with ADHD are more likely to have trouble keeping jobs, be fired, or quit impulsively. I mentioned earlier that ADHD can cause a developmental delay in children, but it can also be in any age. Adults with ADHD who experience this developmental delay are more likely to experience more financial difficulties, more motor vehicle accidents, more substance use disorders, and more legal issues. Overall, ADHD often continues to create social, relationship, and workplace struggles in adulthood, similar to the difficulties experienced during childhood and adolescence. As we can see in this graph, a bunch of people with ADHD were asked, have you faced social isolation due to ADHD symptoms? 50% said yes often, and only 7% said no. As you can see, that's a huge number. Now, you might be wondering, why does this matter? Well, it might not seem important, but it really is. Since you and I have been through today, we've come to the conclusion that ADHD affects social relationships and peer acceptance during childhood, and this results in problems during adolescence and adult life. I, for one, have had many difficulties with this, which you already know. Just because a kid is different does not make them weird or unworthy of others' acceptance. Parents and teachers must take action to reduce this problem as much as possible. Now you must be wondering, what action can we take? Well, this is a difficult question because children are always going to be judgmental and children are always going to be difficult to work with. But we can start by diagnosing early. All children get tested for ADHD very early in their lives, especially if they are showing multiple symptoms. If they have ADHD, then parents need to start educating themselves on how to be a parent to a kid like this. There are many websites, many books, and many articles they can study. My parents educated themselves, so if they did, then other parents can too. Teachers and our parents also need to start setting consistent daily schedules for a child in class, breaking tasks into manageable steps, encouraging physical activity to release energy, and praise positive behaviors. If these habits and methods are taught early on in childhood, all of these issues with ADHD during adolescence and adulthood that I explained to you during this presentation could possibly be reduced significantly. Teenagers and adults would not have to learn these methods on their own the hard way. Not only this, but therapy and medication young could help too. The one main problem, though, is other children not being accepted. And I think that the way we can put a stop to this is teachers getting involved more. If a kid is alone or not being included in activities, teachers need to intervene with that. And also, teachers need to start reprimanding poor behavior from other students who are treating a kid with ADHD differently. Now, like I said, this might all be difficult, but it is extremely necessary so children do not have to grow up feeling unaccepted because their brain is wired differently in a way that a lot of people don't truly understand, just like I did. Thank you.